Welcome to Point Blank, I'm Amanda. And the topic for today is actually local grads versus overseas grads. Because recently there's stories that made headlines about students who actually gave up their overseas scholarships to study locally. So what actually is the difference between studying locally and studying overseas? We're going to find out from our three guests here at the studio. The first is Chang and Joe. They are both students from SMU. And this is Ming, who is an overseas graduate. So first, let's start from Joe, maybe. Why did you give up your opportunity to study overseas to study at SMU?
Okay, I guess for me, one of the main reasons was I had a financial constraint because I didn't have enough money to fly to Japan, live there for 5 years, and pay all the school fees myself. And I guess I could have gotten a scholarship overseas, but I didn't really want to be bonded. And then at the same time, SMU gave me quite a good offer of the Lee Kong Chian scholarship, so I'm still here. Yeah. So,
apart from financial constraints, were there other considerations? Did you want to go overseas to study if not for the financial concerns?
Yeah, definitely. I had studied Japanese for 6 years before that, so I was just on my way to Japan, and I actually spent 2 years in JC just planning for this huge Japan trip. But ultimately, I realized, how much a burden it would be on my parents, and that Singapore has, the universities here actually offer quite a good package as well. So, I mean, I guess at one end there was a financial constraint, and the other was the various things that the local universities were offering at that time.
Okay. How about for you, Chang-wen? What made you want to study here?
Well, for me, actually, I think the greatest push for me was I was supposed to go on a scholarship. I had a scholarship to go overseas, but I decided not to take up the scholarship. I had to end it, mainly because I didn't want to be bonded. The bond was 6 years long, and I interned in the government service for a while. I decided I didn't really like the pace of life there. I didn't like the things they're doing there. So I wasn't sure if I was ready to take up 6 years of that and sacrifice 6 years of my life just to go for 4 years of studies abroad. And of course, the reason why I didn't go was mainly because of financial constraints. If not, I wouldn't have taken up the scholarship in the first place. So, I mean, that and of course is what she just mentioned, that the universities here do offer quite a good package. In terms of education, it's quite holistic education. But of course, with holistic education, it means that you enjoy your life outside of studying. And I'm certain that I'll enjoy my life outside of studying more from overseas. But I guess it's a trade-off somehow.
Let's hear a bit from Ming. How about you? Why did you decide, opposite from them, to actually go overseas to pursue your studies?
So I actually got a scholarship. So it was with one of the statutory boards. So I actually went overseas, and yeah, that's how I went.
So you were on scholarship, but if you were not given the scholarship, do you think you might have considered going to a local university?
I'll probably be staying here locally, just because of the costs. Overseas scholarships, as they mentioned, is quite expensive. So if you go to places like where I went, Cornell, it probably set you back about 180,000, 200,000 Sing over a lifespan for 4 years or so.
How long were you there for?
I was there for 3
years.
3 years. I was a little faster than most. So, but to answer your question about whether I would have gone, I think it would have been burdened, but if I could have still tried, I would have tried hard, because I think in retrospect, it was still a very good experience.
If financial constraints weren't a problem, would all of you have chosen differently?
Most definitely for me.
Why?
I mean, so much more fun in Singapore, for example. After you finish studying, you want to go out with your friends, or perhaps over the weekend you want to go somewhere. Well, you could go to Orchard Road, you could go to go club, go Zouk. Where else could you possibly go? You can't drive up all the way to KL or something for a weekend. Parents are not very willing to do that. But when you're overseas and you have a car, for example, in US, Cornell, parents are not around. You can drive anywhere you want. And I mean, there's a lot of places, you can look at it, 2 hours radius from where you are. Like friends overseas, 2 hours radius, they can go anywhere, they can go skiing in 3 hours from where they're staying. For us, in half an hour you finish whole Singapore. To go overseas, to go to Malaysia, you need to get your passport, it's a hassle. To go to Bintan, Batam, it's troublesome, it's not very fun. I mean, there's only so many places you can go within 3 hours, spend a day. The kind of life you lead when you're overseas is, I believe, a lot more fun, right?
I think the way I like to frame it is not so much local or overseas. I think a better frame it is education is dependent on some person's character and the opportunities he has. So if you're an outgoing person willing to explore, then overseas education where you get a chance to explore really, like he said, travel around, it's great. But I've seen other people who have actually had a chance to go overseas, but the character is very inward. They always stick to the same people or the same brand, same type, country people. Like I see a bunch of Singaporeans, they're always together. So that you may not have experienced as much benefits. So it depends. I said, I've also known a lot of friends who are locally, who actually gone a lot of places when they were in school. They will go to Kinamaru or hiking and stuff like that. So I think it depends on the person.
Is being a local or overseas graduate an advantage or a disadvantage? Find out in the next clip.